The lure of easy money for landowners with underground gas deposits to sign a lease with a gas company to allow hydraulic fracturing on their property can blind landowners to the reality of what will happen to their land. What is hydraulic fracturing, better known as fracking? This new method of drilling for natural gas involves drilling a mile or so vertically, then several thousand feet horizontally or at an angle to reach solid shale rock formations, which contain natural gas. Then a mixture of chemicals, many of them toxic, mixed with millions of gallons of water and sand, which props open the fractured rock, is forced into the shale rock under extremely high pressure, as much as 16,000 pounds per square inch. On the average, 5 million gallons of water is used per frac attempt. This mixture, under pressure, fractures the rock where natural gas is trapped. That gas, along with water made toxic from being blended with chemicals, then flows back to the surface, where gas is captured in pipelines and toxic water is placed in holding ponds. This illustrates the fracking process and shows that hundreds of truck runs are used to transport water and chemicals to the site and gas to pipelines. It's tough to sleep at night with hundreds of trucks in transport near homes where fracking is done. All these trucking runs do great damage to roads, especially roads not designed for the weight of trucks. The water used is contaminated forever. The water picks up radiation from the shale and volatile organic compounds used in the drilling mixture, and those toxic elements cannot be removed from the water. The water, billions of gallons used in prime fracking areas like those we have in Kansas, is toxic forever. When the toxic brew is injected into the rock formation. Note that the fumes at the site are a great threat to the health of workers and nearby neighbors. Why, if fracking is safe, as the gas industry maintains, did they get the Bush administration in 2005 to make fracking exempt from the Clean Air Act, the Clean Water Act, the Safe Drinking Act, the Superfund Law, and other essential environmental regulations that protect our air, water, and land? Why would sensible Americans want to allow extremely toxic chemicals, dangerous carcinogens, radioactive elements, and other damaging materials to be used in fracking without legal and regulatory recourse for citizens against the gas companies? In fact, it is only reasonable to ask for regulations that protect us, our air, our water, and our land from the health and environmental damage caused by fracking. Here is a list of the chemicals used in the fracking process and their side effects to our health and our children's health. Again, why is fracking exempt from regulations put in place to protect us from chemicals that are known to have adverse health effects? Methane gas released in the fracking process is not readily visible. As this slide illustrates, we only see methane emissions using infrared photography. New studies, including the Cornell University study by Professor Howarth, have shown that for greenhouse gas emissions, shale gas does not have a great advantage over burning coal when the full cycle emissions of shale gas are factored in. Methane is 20 times more potent than CO2 as a heat-trapping or global warming gas. Fugitive methane emissions in the fracking process, as explained in the Cornell study, amount to billions of standard cubic feet. That means switching all of our coal plants to burn shale gas would not produce the greenhouse gas reductions needed by 2035 to avoid economic and environmental disasters around the Earth. The sheer volume of water used in the fracking process is a great problem for farmers and ranchers. Recent droughts in Kansas and Texas have ruined many farming operations. Is it smart then to begin devoting tens of billions of gallons of precious water in Kansas to the fracking process? And recent floods in the eastern states caused millions of gallons of toxic water in fracking holding ponds to be swept into freshwater streams. That could happen to us and our drinking water supplies. Fracking operations include water injection methods that shoot toxic brews into the air, where they are caught by winds that transport them far from the site. Gas companies cannot treat the produced water, so they look for deep injection wells where it will be dumped. In some areas, the toxic water is dumped on roads. This is a very dangerous practice. Is this what we want for Kansas? We are told by the gas companies that fracking is safe, but the chemicals they use most certainly are not. Our neighbors in Colorado, where fracking has been done for a few years, have discovered that the health damage from fracking is serious and costly to taxpayers. Kansans should insist that gas companies provide lists of all the chemicals used in fracking. Amazingly, they do not. That is the only way we can hold companies responsible for any damage that has been done. The Sierra Club could use your help to protect us from fracking problems. Explosions happen too often during fracking. A big problem is getting fire crews out to the sites. The remote locations where fracking is done make it difficult to respond quickly. One gas company is being sued by the state of Maryland for damage caused when it took 13 hours to get a company crew out to begin managing an explosion at a fracking site. Our neighbor Colorado has had problems with explosions that have led some areas to seek bans on fracking. Streams contaminated by fracking have devastated many ranching and farming operations. Gas companies have thousands of wells planned for Kansas. Now is the time to get regulations in place before too much damage is done. This is the perfect example of the proper use of regulations. Without regulations, we are blindly putting our own health, our children's health, and the health of future generations at risk. New energy sources are important, but none of us would give away the health and safety of our own children for new energy. We must insist that regulations are put in place that protect us from the greed of powerful interests. These powerful interests have great influence to get their way with policymakers. We must stop the powerful when their financial greed comes at the expense of our own health, our air, and our water. We need to be sure that the dreams of people in Kansas for the good life that could come from fracking profits don't turn into the nightmares like thousands of people in other states. Let's keep our dream of the good life in Kansas alive by getting the regulations needed to protect our air, water, and land from the real dangers of fracking. Fracking is, indeed, an effective way to generate natural gas. We are only asking that proper regulations are in place to protect Kansas citizens. The days when big oil, big coal, or big gas use their powerful influence for financial gain that also puts the health of workers and citizens at risk should have come to an end a long time ago.